Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
I still don't have coffee. Anyway, portions of the following program have been pre-recorded. Welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It's July 30th, 2024, and this is episode 77.
Sunset Strip.
Yes.
Oh, that just dates the living crap out of me, doesn't it? Oh, well.
It sure does. I don't even remember that, and
the music as it started was really cool, but at any rate.
You had a birthday this past weekend.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah, tell me
yes, could you speak up a little, son? My hearing's gotten...
Okay. What'd you say? I'm going to get me batteries.
Some dear friends, we smoke in the valley from fires and stuff just was rolling in, and we're in a hole. That's why it's called the valley. And it has a tendency to stay, and we haven't had much winds, and it just has been horrible to be around. So we decided we were going to go up to this little place that was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives on episode 6. It was on season 6, episode 11. The wife looked it up. I had no idea.
I like Guy Fieri, though. He's a good guy.
But they had some great ratings, and this place is on the way up into the mountains. There's nothing else around it. I mean, there's no towns, there's no house, there's no nothing. You have this little restaurant up on, it's called Hilltop Station, and there's nothing around, and that's it. We'll go to that. And then I went, you know what? We're only about 25 minutes away from there to go winding through, and all of a sudden you're in the pine trees, you're up in the mountains, to Idaho City. It was a boom town in Idaho at one time. It had 7,000 residents during the gold rush days. And by the time Idaho became a state, it was all the way down to 1,000. Because it's in the mountains and it's not very pleasant in the wintertime.
Oh,
and residents are still there. There's still people that live in Idaho City. So it's really cool. We looked at some stuff and went to a museum, and they had some really neat things in it. The old Colt 45s and all that kind of stuff, and pictures and different things. And that was kind of fun. Walked up, and gentleman says, well, we've kept it open just for you folks. Well, thanks for waiting until the birthday boy gets here. I'm just joking with him.
And he got in free,
so when
too,
I go
right?
in, I was paying for the wife, and I was a whopping $3 a piece. We're not talking about a fancy museum.
I see.
So all I had was a 20 and 2 ones. So the 2 ones weren't going to get us in. I gave him the 20, and he had not enough to make change. And he goes, yeah, happy birthday. And so I got free museum. Yay. Then we went to the Hilltop Station. After that, we were in town there for almost 3 hours, and we were getting hungry. It was time to go eat. So they made wonderful pizza up there in the middle of nowhere. They had a wonderful sign outside the building that said, what was it? Hops is beer, or beer is hops. Hops are green. So come in inside, enjoy 7 of our favorite beer, favorite salads on tap. That's what it is. I have to stop and think about what it was. So
this is part of the program we should have pre-recorded.
Yes, I should have brought the thing up so I could read the sign. So I had 3 salads. That only needed to be garnished with a lemon wedge.
When you're 68, you got to look at your health and do salads and stuff.
Oh,
so.
I got a free beer there, so it was my day on Sunday. Got a free beer there because the one I wanted was an amber ale, and as she got about 16 ounces into a 25-ounce glass, it blew. If anybody's ever heard that, the tap, it ran out.
Yeah,
all you get is a bunch of foam. She goes, let me go check. She comes back and just goes, here, happy birthday. That's on me. So I got the blown, it was pretty close to 16 ounces because when a tap goes, it fills it with foam clear to the top, and then it settled down. It was almost 16 ounces of free beer.
Once it settles
and
down,
I got free
fine.
dessert.
Yeah.
Yay. So
Goodness gracious. So we've got
Yeah, it was.
lots of calories and lots of fun. So that's good. That's good.
Oh yeah, I just had a wonderful birthday. I got contacted on Friday for the weekend. Hey, I was referred to you by blah blah blah. Would you like to be in a? We'd like to talk to you about being an extra in a commercial. Pays pretty good to be an extra in a commercial for a company. I'm not going to say anything about it until I know more what's going on. And so they wanted a recent picture. I was sitting in my chair. I just went, "Well, you can have this one." I took it and sent it. She goes, "Perfect." And then all of a sudden yesterday, I got notification in the morning. Yes, congratulations. So I'm going to be filming probably late into the night, week from this Friday.
Wow, Kamala Harris campaign commercial probably does pay pretty good. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun.
So, and then more birthday news. I got accepted by an agency that said we'll probably be contacting you to do a bunch of conservative political stuff in the Northwest. So, yay, raw.
Nice. You're going to get to hear more of my voice. You need to get out of the vote because that's the right thing to do.
No, that's exactly what they're looking for.
When you're speaking to the people of the Northwest, that's probably what you need to sound like.
I can't have any better birthdays. Birthday weekend just keeps on giving.
I've got a special gift for you too. I've got a couple of people that wanted to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh no.
Hi, Richard. Domingo here. First of all, credit to your friends Mike and Brad for putting this together. Always a heartwarming thing to get people together and to do something good. Richard, as I think about our friendship, our relationship, and how we connected a few years back, I look back on our voiceover careers and how far we've come since then and how we've grown and evolved. But not only that, the cool people we've met along the way. That's definitely an important thing. And as I get older, I recognize that. And I definitely consider or count you to be among those cool people that I've met. So to borrow a quote from your own commercial voiceover demo.
Take a flavored 5-hour energy shot and wake the up.
Let's all wake the up. Happy birthday, Richard.
Hi, Richard. It's Mel. Happy birthday. I hope you're going to celebrate in style. I wish you many, many happy returns of the day. You are a timeless classic, a very good friend, and a terrific and talented and generous actor. Hope to see you soon. Congratulations on your special day.
Richard, happy birthday, buddy. Hope all's going well. Best to you and yours, especially on this day. And have a wonderful day.
What's going on, Richard? Happy birthday to you. From Brad Storm here, because you know what? When it rains, it pours. But it's not going to pour on your birthday unless it's pouring down beer from the tap. Oh, yeah, you know it. So celebrate your 68th birthday. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not, but yeah, it looks like you're going to be 68. And I am very happy that we're friends, and I'm happy that we met so many years ago. You've always been an inspiration to me. You're a very talented human being, and I consider you a very good friend. So happy birthday, my friend. Cheers to you. If I could be there where you live, I'd have a cold one with you. Have a great day.
And since I texted you on Sunday, I didn't record Jack. So anyway.
So you got it on Sunday close enough. Right. Oh, that was really wonderful. It's Domingo.
He used your demo. It's beautiful.
Yes, he did. He took that right off of my demo, people. It starts out, you're real slow when you're kind of dragging. You need a 5-hour energy shot.
5-hour energy, coffee, beer, whatever it takes, we getting right into it here. We had the Olympics, the opening ceremonies. I think it was it Friday? Thursday night, I think it was, and caused a lot of
Friday night.
Was it Friday?
It was Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
It caused a lot of people just losing their minds, and it was extremely disrespectful in my opinion. Now everybody's an expert on Greek mythology. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, they've got a whole different story from what it actually was, and they're trying to, and this ain't working. And if you try to go see it on the Olympic site, it's not there anymore. It
Scrubbed.
has been scrubbed and removed.
Sure
So
has.
if it wasn't offensive to that many people, which I think we were talking off air, France is like 60%. Well, not necessarily Catholic, but Christian faith, 60% in France. That's offending an awful lot of local people that you're doing this, and it did not go over around the world either.
Yeah, and you know, and of course it's the internet, so you don't know exactly the veracity of any of this reporting because people make up stuff and it looks legit. But supposedly 2 of the actors that were involved in it, the one that were the heavier lady that was right there in front and center, that if it was the Last Supper, she would have taken Jesus' spot there in the center. They interviewed her and one of the other actors, and they admitted that it was the Last Supper. It was not. It had nothing to do with. There was Marie Antoinette that was beheaded, and what's that got to do with Greek mythology? I have no idea, or even the Last Supper for that matter. But anyway, in my opinion, I think regardless of context, half-naked drag queens shouldn't have anything to do with the opening ceremonies. And I feel bad for the athletes, the ones that busted their butt all their lives to get to this point, and it got tainted by this. That's what people are going to remember this Olympics by.
Well, and then you have Kamala Harris saying, "This was fantastic. You did such a good job. This is what America should be." What?
It doesn't surprise me.
No, it shouldn't. I'm sorry. And people are just about had enough of this stuff.
Yep.
It's like, you do you, boo. Don't care. But when you start trying to shove it down my throat, I got a problem with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's probably just going to get worse, but hopefully a message was sent loud enough. And like I said, on social media, everybody wants to talk down to you because you thought it looked like the Last Supper, which it did, people. I mean, look at the pictures.
The reason it looked like that is because there were too many actors, and it couldn't have been the 12 disciples. Okay, they miscounted or whatever. Maybe they were doing that to try to throw you off track. I don't know. All I know is that half-naked people, no matter what they're doing, should have nothing to do with the opening ceremonies of and maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy. Call me whatever you want. I've been called a lot worse, and it's only 11:30 in the morning. So anyway, Uncle Joe has dropped out of the race because of his lack of cognitive ability. Now the mainstream media is now trying to make him some kind of hero to preserve his legacy, I guess. And I don't think it's working, but now he's being compared to George Washington of all people. Here's a montage of No.
The email has been sent. So, I mean, everybody copy and pasted it, and they've already said it. So here's my montage.
George Washington established a tradition in 1795.
George Washington, Harry Truman, and, of course, President Johnson in 1968.
George Washington in 1795 said, if democracy is going to work, political leaders have to leave power. Joe Biden is doing exactly the same thing.
His decision is one of the most remarkable acts of leadership in our history, an act of self-sacrifice that places him in the company of George Washington, who also stepped away from the presidency.
Joe Biden, on the first night of the Democratic National Convention, in essentially giving George Washington's farewell address, saying, for the good of my country, I am stepping down and handing over to a new generation, even if it's painful for people who are around him to watch. That is a historic moment that we are never going to forget as a country.
He will be mentioned in the same sentence as George Washington.
We grew up hearing about how George Washington did that, but also, Michael, about Cincinnatus, the Roman leader.
The basic decision to leave power, which started with Cincinnatus in 439 BCE.
We're talking 200 years later about George Washington. I don't know how long we'll talk about Joe Biden doing this.
George Washington, although he could have stayed in power for the rest of his life, said, I'm leaving the presidency because democracy is giving up power when you do not have to.
What President Biden has done is a remarkable act of giving up something that he spent a lifetime, much of a lifetime, seeking.
All I got to say is But anyway,
I'm sorry if my eyeballs rolling were too loud during this montage. I didn't mean to interrupt it, but they hurt now.
But he's not stepping away from the presidency. He's stepping away from running for re-election. He's still got 6 more months to go.
Yeah, and and he must be feeling better because he's taller now.
And that, the video I saw that it's like where he's standing, he's in front of Jill. So I don't buy that one.
They were walking side by side, and I'm sorry. And he was standing in front of Netanyahu even, and he's virtually the same height in real life. And whoever this clown was ain't Biden. And he was not shuffling. He was marching on out there. Joe don't march out anymore. He shuffles out at best.
Maybe he's got, maybe he had his caffeine injection and he lifts in his shoes. I have no idea. But, it does seem like when you see his face sometimes, his face looks like 2 different people. I mean,
that's because those masks that they have. And I'm just saying no, that is no way in hell that's him. Yeah. Sorry, just not buying it. I don't care about perspective. That's what they're trying to get. And no.
Yeah. Hey, we're up against a break already. And when we come back, we're going to hear from RFK and a little bit of, we've got a clip from an old TV show called Veep, and I think you're going to like it. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
It's all about common sense and fun. We'll be right back.
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics, awareness of the stupidity of socialism, and diarrhea.
For tethering yourself to reality, the only no-brainer is choosing a brain. Ask your doctor if a brain is right for you.
For more information, visit tryabrain.com.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And Richard's got something to say.
Oh, yeah. And that's not it.
Look like your mouth.
I forgot to turn off my phone. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to all the kind folks that recorded something to send in for the podcast. That was really super special. It was almost like being eulogized at a funeral. I'm not dead yet. So it's nice to hear. I try to be good to everybody. With us. And so it was very kind of you to put together, you little sneak.
I've been called worse, and it's like I said, it's only 11:30. RFK Jr. was being interviewed by Piers Morgan just last week, and he brought up something that I was personally unaware of. But then again, everything could just be rumors. But he makes some really, really good points here. It's about a 2-minute clip, but it's really good here.
I would say that the Democratic Party no longer has any authentic relationship with the American middle class. The Democratic Party I knew as a boy that represented cops and firefighters and working people is gone. And then the Republican Party has all kinds of problems with their own. President Trump, who got a huge boost from the assassination attempt. And I commend him for his courage and his leadership during that very, very challenging time. He announced yesterday, according to the New York Post, that he is choosing between Jamie Dimon, who's the head of Morgan, and Larry Fink, who's the head of BlackRock, as his Treasury Secretary. And this is, I think people cannot take seriously his promise that he's going to drain the swamp if he actually once again brings these swamp creatures in to run our government. BlackRock is American middle class is not fond of BlackRock, and they see, all of the machinations, its role in the war in Ukraine, where it's got not only the contracts, because it owns all the military contractors, to blow up Ukraine, all the bridges and ports and schools and hospitals, but it also has the contracts to rebuild Ukraine. And, it owns the credit card companies that are bankrupting Americans, that are charging 32%. All of the economic problems that we have, which are the result of this systematic strip mining of wealth from the American middle class and sending it upward to this new oligarchy of billionaires, it's all been orchestrated by BlackRock. And to bring them in to run the Treasury is not, I think it sends a bad signal. I think it's going to be a vulnerability for President Trump.
I couldn't agree more. Those are terrible choices. Terrible. And I don't know.
No. I want nothing to do with BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard.
Nope.
They're all the stuff that, they might be helping out your portfolio by screwing other people over.
Yep.
That's not a way to help out your portfolio. That I wouldn't feel good about that at all.
No. And I'm surprised that Trump would even consider that. Like I said, I had not seen the article, but if the New York Post ran it, then chances are there's some veracity to it. But,
it's the New York Post.
Well, you're thinking New York Times.
Yeah, the New York Post is better than
the
Times. But.
Yeah. So it's like it's swapped in Washington D.C. The Washington Times is better than the Washington Post. So it's very confusing. But I totally agree with RFK Jr. that if that's what Trump is thinking, I think it's terrible, and I think that he needs to do something. There's a lot better choices out there. I can even think of better choices, and I don't really know any of these people, but I can think of many choices that are better than that. And even if he wants somebody that has name recognition, you just don't need to go to JP Morgan or BlackRock. I think it's awful. So anyway, the showrunner of a TV show from a few years back, I've never seen this show. The show is called Veep, and the showrunner is unhappy. And the reason they're unhappy, because there's been a lot of comparisons to the female VP character that Julia Louis-Dreyfus played on the show to Kamala Harris.
That was a comedy, by the way, in case anyone's not familiar. And no, I've only seen clips of the show because it was on pay-per-view or not pay-per-view, but like HBO.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Maybe that's why we didn't see it. Okay.
I don't pay for that. So it was. That was funny. This is not.
Yeah.
Because this is real life doing the same thing that was.
It's really kind of weird, but I mean, somebody put together this side by side between Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character and Kamala Harris, and this is what that sounded like.
Americans, words have many meanings, and sometimes instead of conveying our meaning, they can suggest other meanings.
When we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community.
Well, we are the United States of America because we are united. And we are states.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Whatever we have in store cannot be known. The past was once the future. The future is, I should say, unknown.
We got to take this stuff seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously.
Obesity is a serious disease, and it needs to be taken seriously.
You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
I hope that clarifies the issue, and this can be the last word on those words.
Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly we're not.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled time.
Things are unsettled because they're so unsettled.
And that's the last words on those words that which were the words we were speaking of. What?
That show was just prophetic. I mean, it's just so close.
Holy crap. I was hoping they didn't leave out the time thing because... wow.
I know.
That is just, like I said, that was a comedy. This is real life, and it's not any different.
We're still laughing, but we're laughing through gritted teeth.
I snorted in the middle of it. Sorry, I couldn't help. That was just so good.
Oh, well, before she became the stand-in for president, even the leftist media was pretty rough on her. I have a montage of that, which, obviously now they like her, supposedly, but
because they've been given different scripts that say you have to say this now.
Exactly. Up till about 3-4 weeks ago, it sounded more like this.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Swing voters don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see the vice president. What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where is the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The point that Lester Holt was making was obvious to anyone else who was watching this interview, which is that the issues at the border are inextricably linked with the portfolio that she's been given.
The border is secure. We have a secure border.
Bidenomics is working. Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Christmas. Holy Lord, I can't smile anymore. I'm going to get laugh bumps.
But now that she's running for president, she's got female parts, and she supposedly has.
Wait a minute! I thought they didn't know what a woman was. What happened?
You're out of context. Everybody will say you're out of context on that one. No, we don't know what a woman is, apparently, but we know she's one, and we know that she's black, which Jamaican and Indian equal black, I guess, and then we have, they somehow have changed their minds about her. So okay, that's whatever. I feel bad that nobody's noticing all this. She has got a big bump in the polls, though, since she's kind of taken over from Joe for running for president. So Trump's lead in most battleground states is gone down, at least for now. I don't think it's going to stay that way, because the more she talks, the more she sounds like what we just heard. So anyway, I think that.
Well, there's also been some investigating. James O'Keefe was part of this, going and talking to donors who have donated suddenly a whole bunch of money, and they were donating 7-8 times a day, amazingly so, people on Social Security, and they went, what? No, I donated $5 once to Act Blue, I think it's called.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is some money laundering happening, because these people are going, no. The one guy goes, yes, we've donated to Democratic Party. I think the wife has, and she said something about, well, I've donated maybe over the last 3 years, something like close to $1,000, not a huge amount of money. Mm-hmm. And they go, so you didn't donate $250,000? And the husband had to pick his jaw up off of the doorstep, going, oh hell no. So there's some stuff that's can you say hinky with a capital H?
Yeah, definitely. These people don't even have $200,000, so it's like it's just
one lady is on straight Social Security, and supposedly in 3 years' time had donated something like $20,000. She goes, I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, and most people don't. But I mean, it's just so much easier for you to funnel money.
If you donated one time to that Act Blue, they went, well, they're not donating much. Let's just use their name. Yep. Can I have the receipts to take that off of my taxes?
And you got to wonder where that money got funneled from. I mean, that's like you said, capital H and hinky right there.
SOROS, politics are just the best. You like that?
I do.
That was
I do.
pretty good.
I mean,
Off the top of my head. How about that?
I got up and started dancing, and I realized I'm a white male. It didn't work out.
Because it's full of baloney.
Yes, yes.
right.
The mainstream media is now accusing Trump in his campaign of falsely accusing Kamala Harris of donating to and supporting the MFF, the Minnesota Freedom Fund. Remember just before they got in the White House that anyway, she had a tweet from June 1st, 2020 saying that if you are able to, I'm in quotations now, if you're able to chip in now to the MN Freedom Fund I guess there's it's Twitter account to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. So as of yesterday, that tweet had not been deleted yet. So you can go check it out yourself. It goes back to June 1st, 2020. Yeah. So I'm
He's
surprised.
not going to delete that tweet either.
I'm surprised.
Not anymore.
I'm surprised they didn't fix it. It seems like it things like you said.
It's not going anywhere because Elon is not taking that stuff down.
Yeah.
They don't like it either.
They don't like it. They don't like Elon.
Oh, and another big conservative gentleman who's worth tons of money is trying to do a hostile takeover of Disney.
Oh, really? Oh, I hadn't heard this.
And he is a big conservative, and he's fighting. Disney is losing money hand over fist because of they won't stop being woke, and they just keep doing it. And this guy is conservative, and they're afraid of him all get out because they have ABC, ESPN. Mm-hmm. They own several other radio stations and stuff throughout the U.S. And he's going to get all those. And they're going, oh, no. We already have X. That's too many.
Wow. That would be awesome, though. I mean, maybe they'll start making some kid-friendly movies again. That would be.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, no, it's been going on for a little while. And it's the more Disney loses,
the cheaper it becomes,
the better his chances become. Yeah.
Wow. That's
he's a major shareholder and trying to buy more stock to. It's a hostile takeover, so that stuff can get kind of nasty.
Maybe we can have that story as it develops. We'll keep you informed on that because I did not know about that. That's fantastic.
I find out all kinds of goodies.
Yeah. Well, not long ago, our vice president was giving a speech and went off prompter again. And
oh Lord, she shouldn't do that.
I know she's as bad as Joe when he goes off prompter. But that they are partners for that, maybe just that reason. But she said this about the Democratic Party's largest group of supporters, 18 to 24-year-olds.
And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
I actually kind of agree with her.
They would still be making bad decisions.
Yes, because they're stupid. But I actually do agree with her on this. The people with brains full of mush and are easily manipulated. Yes, they're stupid. So, I mean, but I think it's a bad idea for the Democrats to kind of push that demographic away because who they got left. But anyway.
I wasn't the brightest bulb in the closet at that age either.
Certainly not. I made terrible decisions in my early 20s. So
I had two daughters by then, so at least I was working hard and helping support the family. But
probably matured you faster because my son didn't come along until I was 26. Once I got married, I started making extremely better decisions. But I mean, while I was a single guy, I was terrible. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to listen to some comments from Benjamin Netanyahu. He was speaking in front of Congress last week, and really, really good stuff. More laughter. So we'll see about Richard making his face not hurt so much.
Try not to snort this time.
So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Kendra Rains, and I love these two old guys. That's why I listen to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast. And you should too.
Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation carries out its mission to do good by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. And according to Charity Navigator, 95 cents out of every dollar donated goes directly to these programs. $11 a month is all they ask for to help these real-life American heroes. Visit T2T.org to find out more. That's T2T.org. Yes, we have to do this, Richard. All right. Welcome back to...
I'm still recovering from my birthday, dude.
Those salads hit you just there. Right? Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. And we are, let's see. We're going to look at Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister. He was speaking in front of Congress last week. Biden met with him for about 90 seconds or so. Kamala went out of town, which I think was kind of weird. But anyway, I don't think it's a great way to treat one of our strongest allies in the world. But while he was in front of Congress, he kind of let things fly. What a great speaker. Now he's going to be 75 in October. And you got to think of the contrast between him at 75 and Joe at 81. There's 6 years difference. It's totally different. Here's Bibi.
Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag against these anti-Israel protesters. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots. Gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
I love that one. Oh, wow. Yeah, I wonder if he's been watching Senator Kennedy talking.
He might have, because
he took some wonderful lessons from him.
He sure did. It was really, really good. It reminds me, and I didn't think about it when I was recording this clip, but do you remember when they were interviewing the president of Iran? It was a few years ago. They said something about, what about your gay population? He goes, who? He says, they said the gay population. He goes, oh, we don't have that. So they either kill them or they're too afraid to say anything. So
no, they will. Yeah, no, yeah. They will do not nice things to him.
Yeah, but Bibi gives some very eloquent and compelling speeches. We need more leaders like that in the world. He's and he's funny. So anyway.
Just and says it with a straight, dry face, just like Senator Kennedy does. Those are some of the best. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, JD Vance.
Busy week.
Yes, we've got lots of. Who knows whether we're going to get to him or not? I really don't care. I should care, but
well, we did take the time to put it together, so
Yeah, the underestimating by the media of JD Vance, who's been in the news quite a bit lately. They do not like JD Vance. Is quickly getting squashed. This is NBC newsreader Kristen Welker. She's trying to get a gotcha moment, and probably regretted it pretty quickly. This goes back and forth for a couple of minutes, but it is well worth the listen. So here's that.
Would you support him appointing a special prosecutor to go after his political enemies, the Bidens?
Well, first of all, Kristen, I find it interesting how much the media and the Democrats have lost their mind over this particular quote. Donald Trump is talking about appointing a special prosecutor to investigate Joe Biden for wrongdoing. Joe Biden has done exactly that for the last few years and has done far more in addition to that to engage in a campaign of lawfare against his political opposition. I think what Donald Trump is simply saying is we ought to investigate the prior administration. There are obviously many instances of wrongdoing. The House Oversight Committee has identified a number of corrupt business transactions that may or may not be criminal. Of course, you have to investigate to find out. So I think Donald Trump saying, look, let's do the basic work of investigating wrongdoing is a totally reasonable thing for him to do. And frankly, the Biden administration has done far worse. So if you think that what Donald Trump is proposing is a threat to democracy, isn't what Biden has already done done, a massive threat to our system of law and government.
Senator, just to be very clear, though, Joe Biden didn't appoint a special prosecutor. The attorney general did that. Trump was indicted by grand juries. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers in New York. But can we just go back to the core question here? Would you support him taking such an action? It sounds like you're saying, yes, you would.
I would absolutely support investigating prior wrongdoing by our government. Absolutely. That's what you have to have in a system of law and order, Kristen. But I have to reject the premise here. Joe Biden appointed the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who, of course, answers to Joe Biden, can be fired by Joe Biden. So the idea that the Biden administration has nothing to do with the appointment of the special prosecutor, I think, completely betrays a misunderstanding of how our system of government actually works. And of course, Kristen, we have to make this point, Kristen, that the prosecution of Donald Trump in New York, which I think now is fundamentally been thrown in doubt by this immunity case, it was one of the main guys was a Department of Justice official in the Biden administration who jumped ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after Donald Trump.
And yet the DOJ told
doesn't make you question the legitimacy of the prosecution. That's a problem.
Well, Senator, that happens all the time. People are appointed from Washington, but the DOJ told Congress, testified this week.
Kristen, it happens.
Hold on, Senator,
are you really
finish.
Saying, Kristen,
Senator, let me finish my sentence, then I'll let you finish. Hold on. Let me just finish this. The DOJ told Congress this week it reviewed all communications since Biden took office and found no contact between federal prosecutors and those involved with that case in New York. Can you stick to the substance of the question, though? Let me just ask, because I just want to stick with this line of theory that you are laying out, which is you are saying it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department. If it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department, as you say, which there's no evidence of that, why is it okay for Donald Trump to do that?
Well, Kristen, first of all, you said that it happens all the time, that the number 3 person in the Department of Justice jumps ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after the president's political opponent. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of American democracy, and I don't think that we should legitimize it. Now, if Donald Trump's attorney general had his number 2 or his number 3 jump ship to a local prosecutor's office in Ohio or Wisconsin, and that person then went after Donald Trump's political opposition, that's a different conversation.
Senator,
all he's suggesting is that we should investigate credible arguments of wrongdoing. That's all that Donald Trump is saying. That is not a threat to democracy. That's merely reinforcing our system of law and government.
Yeah, I think she regretted that pretty quick.
Yeah. Will you stick to what I asked you? No, you asked me a gotcha question, and I've already told you that if there's wrongdoing that has been done, that needs to be investigated. Not you're shutting people down. You're trying to close things off. You're looking at maybe doing someone in. Those are things that no.
Yeah.
That's just flat treason.
Trump was involved in the private sector doing all kinds of business deals up until he was 70, 75, 76 years old without ever being prosecuted or one indictment. And all of a sudden, now that he's running for president, he gets 91 charges and 4 indictments.
It's cost New York billions of dollars for what they've done because people investing in New York went, oh, hell no, I ain't. You're going to do that that's what everybody else does. It's like, we didn't do anything wrong. When you have a witness that says, we'd love to do more business with him, paid on time, even a little bit early, we got the interest we were looking for, everybody was happy.
Yep.
So what's the problem? Yeah.
I think that, they're trying to call JD Vance weird now, and I'm hoping to get a montage of clips of that for next week. But apparently, an email got sent out to people because all of the complicit mainstream media are all saying the same thing. He's just weird. He's just weird. And this is coming from Pete Buttigieg, which took maternity leave when they adopted a child, which there's nothing weird about that at all. But anyway, I think that him being weird. Probably to the Democratic Party, because they're for chopping off bits of kids and letting boys compete in girls' sports. That's not weird to them. So, whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of that is going by. It's turning around and it's finally being stopped in a lot of places, and it's just not happening. I'm very happy that at least as weird as the opening was for the Olympics, that they're not allowing that.
Exactly.
That's just wrong.
Yep. I agree. If you've got to give them some credit, it's from that. I would totally give them credit for that. But for those of us who don't have memory problems, and especially...
Who are you again? What? Oh, hey, nice to meet you.
I need to find my socks. I can't find... Oh, I'm wearing them. Especially those of us that know the internet archives everything. Kamala Harris was appointed border czar very early in this regime and is now looking back and saying, if you look back at it now, everybody had said that it was an absolute failure. The mainstream media, everybody was openly critical of her handling of the border. But now that Kamala is running for president, they're now calling for cleanup in aisle 5. Here's some clips from the last 3 years, and then by the same people, at least just only a week or so ago. So here's that.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
A few moments later.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
Again, a copy and pasted email went to everybody and said, quit calling her the border czar. As a matter of fact, say that she was never the border czar.
But that didn't happen until they wanted her to be the ipso facto running for the presidenteo. And all of a sudden, what? No, I was never the border czar. What are you people talking about? That never. You can't scrub it fast enough, but they have been taking things down, removing stuff. And you guys said it.
Exactly.
And it was announced at a podium, a whole shooting match. Uncle Joe said, and I've now put my VP in charge of the border, and she will be the new border czar for America. And then she did absolutely nothing.
And they're always saying that the border's under control and things are great. But if that's a fact, then why is Kamala's handlers and everybody that's involved, why are they trying to distance themselves from it? It just doesn't make any sense. But, what do I know?
Yeah, it's Lord. It's like, yeah, we said all that because they do a blast and it goes to 200 and some odd stations that are all lefty owned. And suddenly, oh, whoops, no, we didn't. We never said that. What are you talking about? What are you, nuts? I'm sorry. It's in the day and age of the internet.
I was going to say they forgot.
Can't hide that.
They forgot that the internet doesn't forget, which doesn't make any sense. So as that came out of my mouth. We're going to try to get to one more here. Just the last week also, 6 House Democrats voted with 213 Republicans on Elise Stefanik's resolution to condemn Kamala's handling of the border crisis. Here is Congressman Elise Stefanik in her initial presentation of this resolution.
I rise to condemn Vice President Kamala Harris for her failed and dangerous policies as Joe Biden's border czar that caused the most catastrophic border crisis in modern history. I have seen firsthand with the Border Patrol the disastrous consequences of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's administration's failed far-left open border agenda. A 21-year-old innocent girl was killed by an illegal and buried in a Syracuse public park. A 15-year-old innocent girl was raped by an illegal in Albany County, all because of Kamala Harris's failed policies as open border czar. Their policies stopped the construction of the border wall, ended President Trump's remain in Mexico, and released the largest number of illegals into the United States in history. Since Kamala Harris became the open border czar, monthly encounters have surpassed even the highest month under President Trump. Former U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz stated that during his 2 years in the position, he had never once spoken to Vice President Harris. The American people have had enough. They know that the only way to fix this historic crisis is by returning to President Trump's effective border security policies. That is why House Republicans passed H.R. 2, the strongest border security bill in history, the Secure the Border Act of 2023, that will put an end to this catastrophic border crisis caused by Joe Biden and his open border czar, Kamala Harris.
I like that she calls her the open border czar.
You can scrap it all you want. I'm still calling her that because that's how you announced her, people.
Yep.
She is a Spitfire. I love her.
She is. Yeah. 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 She's got a good political career ahead of her because she is fearless. And there's a lot of them like that. And I think it's very encouraging. It's really funny that 6 House Democrats voted with the Republicans on this, which is it's kind of encouraging to me. I'm surprised.
They're up for election and they're seeing the polls are saying your viewpoints on no.
No.
I didn't vote for that.
Well, you're right. I didn't think about re-election, but everybody they've got to cover their own butts. So
they're all up in the House in November.
Yep. So anyway, when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit from Bill Maher, who had his own little take on Kamala Harris and her handling of the border, and we'll talk a little bit more about Kamala. We're not doing anything ugly. We're just kind of going over her record. So enjoy that.
That's all. It exists, people.
It does. It does. Hang in there. We will be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast is recorded before a live studio audience.
If you're having trouble sleeping, ask your doctor about Bidenica, the sleep aid made from 100% Joe Biden press conference.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
Bidenica has a patented blend of confusion and forgetfulness that will calm the most overactive brains.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
When they sold out American jobs and killed the Keystone Pipeline, it kept me up all night worrying about how we pay our bills. But then I got Bidenica, and I've never slept better.
Sometimes when I get hopped up on sugar, my parents give me Bidenica so I pass out. Other times they give it to me during the day, probably so they can do the deed. Gross.
Warning. People who have used Bidenica have experienced rapid lying and an inability to secure the southern border. Others have hallucinated and fought breakfast cereals.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Ask your doctor if Bidenica is right for you.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. We are almost done. Good, because I need a nap. No, I gotta bring my wife lunch, so no naps for me.
Yes, we're doing more all Kamala all day, 24/7 on the Stay Off My Lawn podcast. Bing Bong, you're next on the 9th caller. We'll give you. Never mind. More Kamala coming up.
Oh, gosh. So much to say, so much we can't say. On a related note, some liberals in the media are not jumping up to sign up for the Kamala Harris fan club. Bill Maher is one of those people. Of course, he's gotten really honest lately, and it's almost kind of creepy weird, but here he is.
Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. And like an electric car, your MAGA uncle can't explain why she fills him with homicidal rage. She just does. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact, was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
Yes, bad example. Oh my gosh. That's pretty good. He's like,
and then recently he's back defending her because she's a Democrat.
oh, is he really? I
Lordy.
hadn't heard that. I know that.
I just happened to see it like yesterday.
A lot of people are going back to that old Dennis Miller thing when, oh gosh, who's the guy who ran against Reagan in his reelection campaign? Gosh, 1984. What was that guy's name?
It starts with an M. Mondale?
Yes, Walter Mondale.
I got it right. Yay!
Dennis Miller came on one time as a comedian and said that I only got 4 votes left or less than Walter Mondale did, and I didn't even run. So I mean, but now a lot of people are coming out and says I got just as many votes as Kamala Harris did in the for president. So yeah,
primaries.
You know. It's good stuff. And if there's still a question about the VP's role at the border, Congressman Wesley Hunt, which is one of our favorite people on the planet.
We love Wesley.
He was grilling the DHS secretary.
Sure, did she slip there, son?
I gotta
You gotta get you some more Paladin. Put that down on your list in the grocery store.
You know, if they fell out completely, it might even sound better. But he was grilling DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and he clears up any misunderstanding that Kamala might have had.
This woman is Kamala Harris. She's the current vice president of our country. She's also the border czar. Now, that was dubbed by your boss. You see, on March 21st, 2021, President Biden tasked Vice President Kamala Harris with solving the border crisis and finding the root causes of illegal immigration because, as Biden said, she is the most qualified person to do the job. I'd like to make a motion to submit this transcript of Joe Biden's March 24th press conference to the record, Mr. Chairman.
So moved.
It's been 855 days since Joe Biden named Kamala Harris the border czar. Has she solved the root cause of illegal immigration, in your opinion?
Congressman, you have mischaracterized the vice president's role. The vice president is addressing...
No, I have not mischaracterized. Actually, that was the job that was given to her by the President of the United States of America. How did I mischaracterize that?
Congressman, the vice president...
Okay, that's fine. So she has not solved the issue. I think that's actually pretty clear. And I think my colleague Chip Roy did a very good job of articulating that.
All right, that's fine. Just shut up.
Yeah, it's just like, no, you're going to try to say she was never the czar. And he was like going, no, that's what the title was given to her. Exactly. That's what was said that she would be doing. And she did bupkis.
Yeah. Apparently, Mayorkas got the email, too. It was like, she was never the border czar. Keep pushing that narrative. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. And didn't go to the border. Finally, when she did, was in El Paso, and she was on the far side of town from the border. She was in downtown. It was, okay, you were in the general vicinity of the border, but she never went to the border and saw all the stuff that was going on. She had no idea what's going on.
If she wanted to get a true representation of what the border was, what's going on at the border, you go to either the place in south of San Diego, you go to Eagle Pass in Texas.
That's what I was just going to say, Eagle Pass in Texas.
So, you know, there's lots of hot spots so you can go and actually see what's happening. But she wasn't interested in that. It's all about appearances.
And the only reason that she went to El Paso was because the pressure was on to go to the border. Yeah. Okay. So they cleaned up all the streets and everything like they do when somebody comes and visits. And she was there at some fancy hotel in El Paso speaking, went back out, got in her plane, went back home.
Gone back.
She never went and saw nothing.
Yeah, no, all she did was increase her carbon footprint, apparently. But
that.
But yeah, now she's prepared if Lester Holt ever asks her again, I guess. But anyway, since we're still talking about the presumptive Democratic nominee for president, here she is explaining her view on equity, which we all understand. Equity is leveling the outcomes instead of equality, which is leveling out opportunities for people. But she's more interested in equity. And if you have any questions about that, here she is.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right? We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles. Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base. We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal. So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity. To put equity firmly at the center.
Why does what she's describing sound so familiar?
It came out of a book with a guy with a big bushy beard, and it's never been successful anywhere it's ever been tried.
Carl something, right?
You keep taking from those who work their tail off and work hard to give to those who just want to hang out and just need something to get by. I don't really care. You need to pay me. Yeah, that's fine. Pretty soon you run out of other people's money because now you start demotivating the ones who worked hard where you had the money from in the first place.
Absolutely.
And it all goes, the house of cards falls down.
And I know so many people that grew up in the same kind of manner that I did. People I knew from high school or knew from middle school that kind of grew up in the same neighborhood and they made something of themselves. I have actually done a whole lot better than I was brought up in. And just because you didn't start out in the same place doesn't mean it negates what you can accomplish.
Yeah, it's those who worked hard for it can get more by, if you do more. I know that the route work that I did, the bigger route you ran, the more money you made. Sure. Well, I had 3 little miles at home and the wife started doing school busing about that time, but you got to support all those little miles you made. Mm-hmm. And so I worked hard. I liked making more. I didn't have a problem working 12, 14 hours a day. Sometimes when it got up to the point where my route was just too absolutely huge, I would say something and they go, "What? We just cut it not long ago." "Yeah, well, look again." And I was training people at the same time. I worked harder. I made more money.
Right. And I think that's kind of universal. I mean, at least in our generation, you worked harder, you worked longer hours, you made more money, or you at least set yourself up for promotions, however your structure was put together. But, it's like I was talking to somebody a couple of years ago, and they were saying that, well, in my there's no jobs that pay more than $9-10 an hour. I'm like going, "Where do you live?" And they live near Savannah. And I said, "Well, I don't know about around Savannah, but around here, you can work at a factory and start out making about $18-19 an hour. Yeah, you might have to sweat, you might have to work night shift, you might have to do whatever, but you could at least have your family living in a good house in a good neighborhood where you don't have to worry about things, and you can drive a better car. And yeah, I mean, you're going to have to make sacrifices. And just like you were just saying, you made sacrifices. You didn't necessarily wake up that morning, "Man, I can't wait to work 14 hours today," but you did it because you had mouths to feed, you had mortgage to pay.
My job is to support them, and I don't want somebody else. I've never liked getting handouts. I've had hard times where sometimes you had to do that for a little bit. It was not by choice, and you just keep going, find a better way, and you get out of it and move forward some more.
But for years, that was never even political. I mean, I knew people that we couldn't disagree more on politics, but we both worked hard. We both had we had our bills paid, and we had our families in a decent neighborhood. I mean, I don't understand how that became political. I guess because like you mentioned, Karl Marx and his theories and everything, and all that has kind of worked itself into our politics, probably because of the way the KGB did their indoctrination into our school systems over here. And that's not a conspiracy theory; that's actually an established fact. So whatever, we'll actually get to one of those things eventually. Yuri Bezmenov had that interview. We played him a couple of times in the past.
Yeah.
But he was an ex-KGB agent, and that's exactly what they were trying to do back in the 60s and 70s. So
it don't work, folks. What did let's see, is that during World War II, Prime Minister
Brezhnev? No, it was after
Prime Minister of England.
We're talking about Chamberlain?
Churchill. Yeah, said that socialism was just the equal sharing of being poor.
Yeah.
Of misery.
Yeah. Because he had a good grasp on all that stuff. Yeah.
Whether people say capitalism's not fair, well, it has pulled more people out of poverty than any other form of monetary stuff that you want to deal with. It has brought people out of being slaves and being not having and there's a reason it's called not having a pot to piss in, as it was, that I found out where that saying came from. It was so poor during the Depression that poor people would save the pot. They had a bucket that they would go in, and then they would take it to the tanner. They at least got a little something to be able to buy food with. And if you were too poor if you didn't have a pot to piss in, you didn't even have the bucket to be able to take the stuff to the tanner.
Yeah.
That's where it came from, being that poor. So that's what people have done over the years. You got to do something. You got to make a living somehow or another. So people were even doing that during the Depression.
I remember.
So, if you're just going to sit around and do nothing, you're going to get nothing, people.
Yeah. Oh, no. I knew people that would walk along 75 on their days off sometimes and pick up I-75 where I live and pick up cans and take it to the aluminum recycling plant. And they paid them money per pound. They probably could use their time better doing something else, but that's what they thought of. And, somebody had to do it, and you clean the highway at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
but if you just sit and do nothing. I needed a house when things went sour one time, and I found a gentleman that his wife was having some health issues, and he couldn't work his farm like he could, and his mom had passed, and there was this nice 3-bedroom mobile home on the place, and by gum, it was our home for a couple of years. Because I could fix fences until I finally got another job doing stuff. I worked on it, and then I paid him rent. You do what you got to do, people. I have never been one to just sit and go, "Oh, I don't have."
Yeah. You're not going to have by sitting on the couch.
I painted a friend's house to get the money to build my voiceover booth with because I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Figure it out, man.
And really, I mean, you want to look at a modern day example of how socialism doesn't work. Venezuela went from the most prosperous South American country not that long ago. They had oil, they had resources, and they were prosperous. And they brought in somebody who had the socialist agenda in mind. And now there's rioting in the streets down there. I think just today, they just had their election.
20 years, they're just down to it's the equal sharing of misery, and that's exactly what they have, because somebody promised the moon and all this, and all those that don't will help out, and pretty soon that's what the problem is they've been printing money like crazy. The inflation is stupid, and those that were working hard went, well, why is he getting the same thing that I do, and I'm working my tail off? I'm not working that hard anymore.
Why bother?
And it just goes downhill.
Yep. And before you know it, you're standing in line waiting for a block of cheese and a loaf of bread. But anyway, the regime is still trying to sell the Green New Deal. And this is our last story here. Sometimes they let it slip what the true cost of all this reduction in our carbon footprint will be. Janet Yellen was recently down in Brazil, and she let it slip.
Being so close to the magnificent Amazon is also a reminder that the transition to a lower carbon global economy is also the single greatest opportunity of the 21st century. The transition will require no less than $3 trillion in new capital from many sources, each year between now and 2050.
First of all, every time I hear her speak, I feel like there's IQ points just falling out of my ears. I feel dumber after she speaks.
What? Was she still speaking? I'm sorry. The dynamic, it was just too much.
Yeah, she's a dynamic speaker. She really is. We need a palate cleanser after that because
Lord, yes. I don't care if we're over or not. We still got to have a palate cleanser because this is awesome.
We are way over. We continue our Pro America July. This is our last one actually, and we'll probably do more pro American stuff, which we normally do anyway. North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. If you're not familiar with this guy, he's actually going to be running for governor. If you live in North Carolina, vote often for this guy. He gives speeches that inspires, and he's very, very good. And this speech in particular inspires all of us Americans.
The greatest example of that I saw and witnessed it firsthand on television was during 9/11. People running away from those burning buildings, running away in horror. We saw policemen and firemen running to those buildings, basically running to their deaths to go help others because they saw trouble and they knew that they were needed. That's got to be us in this day right here. We've got to run to the trouble, folks. And what is the trouble? The trouble is the Biden administration that is seeking to turn this country into a socialist hellhole. The trouble is Antifa that wants to roam the streets and beat you into submission. The trouble is Black Lives Matter. It claims to care about the lives of black people, but it's turned a blind eye while violence in black communities are taking lives at a genocidal rate. They've turned a blind eye. That's where the trouble is, and that's what we've got to run to. And we've got all the right in the world on our side. And there ain't no reason to be afraid. And there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on. Because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, there was Americans. At Khe Sanh, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sight of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are, that we are Christians, that we are Americans, that we are Republicans, and that we are conservatives. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive here. And not only survive, it will thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready, because we got a fight on our hand. And our fight is not for us. It's for all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks, because if there's to be freedom in this nation in the future, it is only going to become at the behest of the Republican Party, the grand old party, the party of freedom and equality, the one that always has been and the one that always will be. God bless you all. Thank you very much. God bless the great state of North Carolina, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
You know, you listen to him speak, you almost feel your own testosterone raise a little bit, because he's just...
Amen to that, sir.
You just got to love him.
Where do I sign up?
Exactly.
Holy
it's like
crap.
you want...
Another one of those great speakers. He'll do great as a governor.
Yeah, he's going to do great, and I think he's got even a bigger career after that, because he's a relatively young guy. I think he's about the same age as JD. I think.
Well, he's got the thing that most politicians don't, and that's a little thing called Common sense.
Common
Yeah, that's
sense.
what it is.
Yes. And they hate him for it. They hate him for it, especially being a black guy. They hate him for it.
Yep. You're not supposed to have that kind of common sense. You're just supposed to take what we give you. Shut up.
Exactly. Well, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Smart Speaker, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Or you can just go to our good old website at stayoffmylawn.us for all of our past and present episodes.
And we will see you next week, folks.
Thanks for listening, people, and thanks for the wonderful birthday greetings. Toodles! Well, we had fun, and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh, or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.